can't see the Nets. I see the Nets making a trade, and if they're gonna make a trade, they're gonna use the pick in the trade. So I'm just using logic and what I think would happen. I think they're going to trade the pick. I'm I also usually am really excited and trying to follow college basketball and see who could help the Nets. But even last year, before the shutdown, before the bubble, I just never thought the Nets would use their pick this year. I always knew that they wanted a higher class player and they wanted to make a bigger deal, whether it includes Dinwiddie, Allen, even Claxton, who I like. But I just feel like they're going to trade what they can in order to get the person they targeted. Who that is, I don't know. I'm not sure, but I don't see them. I don't see them using the pick this year.
Jacques, you're for the babies. Are you telling me there's no new babies coming into our HSS for us to grow and groom and turn them from tall, lanky, stink figures in Jared Allen to huge, samurai, muscly Jared Allens that we see now? Is there going to be someone drafted that Nets fans are going to obsess about for the next 3 years and overvalue?
Look, I like the names that have already been mentioned. I think Desmond Bain's probably going to go top 12, to be honest. I think that his stock is rising. Guys that I like, and it's probably a bit of homerism, I put out a tweet the other day showing some film of Josh Green. He's a Sydney kid. He doesn't have the greatest handle, but in terms of the prototype, the archetype that the Nets need, can shoot the three ball well, incredibly strong, great defender, good cutter. That's a role player that I think can get minutes for the Nets, maybe even more than Nicholas Claxton, because we have two other centers already. And I do think, despite the fact that he has such a versatile skill set, I think Claxton is a 5 going forward. Like he's Chris Bosh, he's the 4-5, but he's more natural as a 5, and I think he can do more damage as a 5. I like Sadiq Bey as well, Isaiah Stewart. These are names that I think could be good and can produce for the Nets. But I see something more likely happening to being, maybe if Josiah wants to get off of a Torian Prince contract, add in a Jared Allen, put the 19th pick with it, and you get a Robert Covington in return, a Larry Nance Jr. in return, guys that can be part of a rotation and in key minutes for the Brooklyn Nets when it truly does matter in the playoffs, because at the end of the day, that's the goal. It's championship mentality. All the decisions, as Steve Nash said in that town hall the other day, it's about, okay, how is this going to help us win a championship? Is this championship mentality? All these decisions need to be leading up to championship winning habits.
I think that when you look at it, I would love if it was that the Nets were already planning to reset the team after KD and Kyrie are done doing what they're doing, or maybe even like a post, prime KD, or post, KD at the height of his powers team that was younger and bouncier and played more minutes. Sometimes I have these weird thoughts of that's what's going to happen. We're going to draft some amazing player and go from there. But that's not what's happening. They're trading this pick, and they know who they're getting. When Sean Marks didn't make a trade at the trade deadline, I knew he was working on something, because the team had obvious flaws, and I don't think he was happy with some of the way the team was formatted. Because immediately when Jacques Vaughn came, it changed, and not just like people look at the DeAndre Jordan part of it. That's not the only part of it. That could have been just issuing a challenge to Jared Allen. I want to be positive and not think that the team would be, or Kevin Durant would be so petty to want a guy get fired, so that his friend can start. I think the team learned to play tougher. I think they played even better defense, considering that the Nets were 10th in defense last year. But they're a piece away. They are. I think they're one move from winning a championship, and that being said, let's split this question in two. What is the one viable move that the Nets can do? Not that they're going to do, not that you're predicting is going to happen, but what's the one trade? Give us the players that's going and the players that's incoming and why. Let's pick up the pace a little bit with the pod. Sam, you answer first.
Yeah, so I think the one that's probably boring, but I'm gonna say because we've talked about it a lot is I think taking a swing at Aaron Gordon and doing something like Dinwiddie and 19, and maybe you have to give a filler or something like that for Aaron Gordon. I would be interested in. Covington was mentioned earlier. I think that's a great one as well. But Gordon is the one that kind of can bridge the gap can play now, and also if for some reason the Kyrie KD experiment doesn't work out, he can play.
Let me challenge you there. Look, now it's obvious. Everyone knows if you listen, especially if you listen to this podcast, you know I'd love to have Aaron Gordon on the Nets. However, I do not believe Aaron Gordon in the last year of his contract that I know Orlando is not upgrading that contract. They didn't want to give him $18 million. I know they're ready to trade him. I don't think you have to give Jarrett Allen and Dinwiddie up because Dinwiddie is a
I don't know. I wouldn't include Allen in that deal. By the way, the only other deal that's really caught my attention that I wanted to say very quickly because I saw a little bit of a rumor on Twitter about it. Mm-hmm. I think if you possibly have to include LeVert in a deal for someone like Chris Middleton, who I think is like a guy who has is a perfect third star for Kyrie and KD as a long wing who can shoot and who can also isolate and take over a game as well. That's one name that I've seen here and there that I think is really, really intriguing, more so because of his size and his ability to shoot.
All right. Just to keep the ball rolling, I'll come back to Chris Middleton. Bam, who do you think? What trade that's viable that you would make that guarantees a chip?
I kind of agree with Sam. I don't like all these maturations I see for Drew Holiday. I think we're getting a better player, but I don't like the cost. And to me, it doesn't fix the issues that we have. I have not heard the Middleton thing though, but I would be very intrigued by that because he does fit perfectly next to Kyrie. He's a quiet superstar. Doesn't really need the ball in his hands to create and score. So that would be a great pickup. But I think their plan of attack is going to be Dinwiddie, Prince for salary cap purposes, obviously. And a lot of people, I don't hear this name a lot, but I think it would be a good fit. He's not a great athlete, but I like Kevin Love for the Nets. I think he has rebounding, shoots, floor spacing on offense next to DeAndre in a starting lineup potentially. Excellent passer. He's experienced. He's been there before. Low-key superstar. And I really could see the Nets making a move for Love.
It would be hard for me to give up pieces for Kevin Love because his contract is huge. I feel like Kevin Love would have to come with a pick. Even though I'm not saying that's a possible thing, but for me, I value Kevin Love and all of, I think he has 2 years left on that deal.
Right, so he lines up perfectly with the timeline, and you win with veterans that are accomplished and have been there. He doesn't help us guarding the LeBrons of the world, but he gives us a ton of versatility. He can play the 5 in some units. Mm-hmm. And I think he would come cheap. I don't think you have to move Jarrett. I don't think you have to move a ton of picks. I think Dinwiddie maybe going to a third team and the asset going back to Cleveland along with Taurean Prince's contract to make the deal work helps all the teams, and the Nets don't have to gut themselves for it.
I can't say no to that one. I wouldn't kill myself. I wouldn't quit Twitter for that one. I like it. Carlos, beat that.
It's tough to beat that. To be honest, I also am not a huge fan of the Drew Holiday deals that I see. I understand what he can do and what he brings, Maybe I'm attached to Spencer Dinwiddie and Jared Allen, but I just wouldn't go that way. Now, when you say, are we only talking just trade or free agent signings, sign and trade, or just
all of
trade?
it is on the table. Make the move.
Okay. Well, I've been known to be a big fan of Christian Wood. I know he's not a huge name. I know he might not be the final piece for a championship team, but everything he does are the things that I wish the Nets did more of. He's a big that can shoot. He can defend. He's very athletic. I also won't give up on the Ibaka deal. I understand it would have to be a sign and trade of some sort. I'm not exactly great with the numbers and what they would have to do to get him, but he's played with Durant before. I would assume they're close friends. The problem with that is I can't see him taking as big as a pay cut as it would seem he would have to take to come here. But I keep going back to Christian Wood for some reason. Probably because if they signed
I brainwashed you.
Probably because if they signed them, they wouldn't have to trade everyone, which I know eventually they will.
They could just sign them.
It just seems, I know they can just sign them. It just seems like for now, for the time being at least, I will try to sign them and keep the team as is, because part of the reason why I hated last year is because we didn't get to see the team as is play yet. They've never played together.
Hey, Eames, can I jump in here real quick?
Go ahead.
I don't mean to cut you off, Los, but Jack might know this. If they traded Prince into somebody's cap space, they didn't take any money back, would the Nets fall under the tax apron to get their full mid-level?
Yeah, I think so.
Wow.
So that would be a great option for them, because now you're actually in the sweepstakes for a Christian Wood or even an Ibaka. Now you have 10, 11 million, whatever it is. You can realistically put an offer together there where you fill your biggest need cheaply. You're getting rid of your worst contract. You're going to lose some picks in the process. But then you could really keep the depth of the team in order and reassess at the deadline. Jrue Holiday's going to be available then. Maybe Beal becomes available or something like that down the line. And then you go for the home run down the line, and maybe you don't have to do it at all. And I'll mute myself, guys.
That's not a bad idea. Listen, Jacques, I want you to go off on this question because I already know part of your answer because I'm a loyal listener to your pod. I'm gonna want you to go off on this question. Let me reset everything, take a little break, and then when we come back, everyone is going to hear the great Jacques Manuel. You hear how I said that? That's
crispy.
Jacques Manuel. Pontificate on this highly important answer. It is the Front Office Podcast. I'm Yves Darbouze. That's my guy Sam LaChow. We are going to take a break and come right back.